what we have next is the main reason for doing the jhanas. And that's they turbocharge your insight practice. When one's mind is thus concentrated, pure and bright, unblemished, free from defects, malleable, wieldy, steady, and attained to imperturbability, one directs and inclines it to knowing and seeing. One understands thus: this is my body, having material form, composed of the four primary elements, originating from mother and father, built up out of rice and gruel, impermanent, subject to rubbing and pressing, to dissolution and dispersion. And this is my consciousness, supported by it and bound up with it. The main purpose of the jhanas is to generate a mind that's concentrated, pure and bright, unblemished, free from defects, malleable, wieldy, steady, and attained to imperturbability. That's the kind of mind you want for knowing and seeing, for doing insight practice. The imperturbability is actually quite important. Some of the insights we might get on the spiritual path maybe are a little perturbing. You get a deep insight into anicca, the impermanent, inconstant nature of everything, and you realize the things you've been counting on for your security are also anicca, impermanent, insecure, which is another translation of anicca, inconstant, and that might freak you out. If you've got the imperturbability, you'll be able to handle that information in a much healthier way. So that's quite important. And yeah, because you're well concentrated, remember I said that samadhi could best be translated as indistractability. Okay, your mind is less likely to get distracted. So if you're doing an insight practice, then you're less likely to become distracted, and you can stay with it and take it to a deep level. And then the practice. This is my body, right? Four foundations of mindfulness. You know that. First foundation is mindfulness of the body, right? And this is my body, having material form, composed of the four primary elements, originating from mother and father, built up out of rice and gruel, impermanent, subject to rubbing and pressing, to dissolution and dispersion. So the four primary elements, that's one of the practices that's given explicitly in the Satipatthana Sutta. But yeah, investigating the body in different ways is quite important. And then this is my consciousness, supported by and bound up with it. Consciousness, vijnana, which we translate as consciousness, is not a well-defined term in the Buddha's teachings. It's used in a number of different situations to mean different things. Sometimes it means mind. It's synonymous with mind, and I think that's what's going on here. This is my mind, which is supported by my body and bound up with my body. So the second foundation of mindfulness, that's Vedana. Oh, that's part of mind, right? Third foundation of mindfulness, mind states. Yeah, definitely mind. And the fourth foundation of mindfulness is Dhammas. Probably the best translation would be phenomena, but there's a pun in there. It's phenomena with respect to the Dhamma. And so that includes the five hindrances, the five khandhas, aggregates, the six senses, the seven factors of awakening, and the Four Noble Truths. And those are, mostly to do with the mind, except for the ones that have to do with the body, right? So, but the jhanas are the warm-up exercise that will allow you to do the Satipatthana practices most efficiently. The other thing is that insights, transformative insights on the spiritual path, are insights into anicca, dukkha, anatta, right? They're not just Satipatthana insights. And so if we look at this, this is my body having material form composed of the four primary elements, originating from mother and father, built up out of rice and gruel. That's somewhat of an anatta teaching. This body is not me. It's a thing that had a beginning and was built up out of rice and gruel, or solid and liquid foods. It's impermanent. There's anicca right there. Subject to rubbing and pressing, to dissolution and dispersion. That's kind of dukkha-ish, right? It's impermanent, rubbing, pressing, that could be dukkha in and of itself. Dissolution and dispersion, that could be dukkha and anicca. So yeah, look at the body as basically a source of not me, not mine, impermanent, has dukkha. And this is my consciousness supported by my body and bound up with it. Well, my body seems to be impermanent, so that would tend to make my mind impermanent as well. Oh, yeah, right. That's kind of dukkha as well as impermanence. And yeah, there's not a me that can be found independent of my mind and my body. So we got anicca again. So basically what the Buddha is saying is concentrate your mind and use your concentrated mind to practice the four establishments of mindfulness to see anicca, dukkha, and anatta in relationship to your own body and mind. This is what really propels you down the spiritual path. Along the way, there may be quite a number of personal insights, and they're very important because they're sort of in the way of the more universal insights. If you don't actually take care of the unresolved psychological issues, they're going to be in your face and you can't see the important stuff that's really out there that you need to see associated with anicca, dukkha, anatta. So quite important to work on the personal stuff, but not sufficient to work on the personal stuff. And it's going to show up. You get concentrated enough, and as we said, yeah, the personal stuff's going to show up, and hopefully you get some resolution there. And until you get to be fully enlightened, fully awakened, yeah, the anicca, dukkha, anatta stuff is going to show up as well. We have a simile. Suppose there were a beautiful beryl green gem. So beryl is it's a mineral, but it makes very clear gems. In fact, before they can make high quality glass, they would make eyeglasses out of clear beryl. Okay, because it was clear and it was a gem. It could be, worked and so forth to make glasses. So suppose they're a beautiful beryl green gem of purest water, 8-faceted, well-cut, clear, limpid, flawless, endowed with all excellent qualities. And through it, there would run a blue, yellow, white, red, or brown thread. A man with keen insight taking in hand would reflect upon it thus: this is a beautiful beryl gem, and running through it are these threads. In the same way, when one's mind is concentrated, etc. So this is insight. One sees into the gem. Basically, the jhana practice is to clear the gem of your mind of its defects, right? So it's pure and bright, unblemished, free from defects, malleable, wieldy, steady, and attained to imperturbability. so that you can deeply see what's going on. So, questions on insight practice following the jhanas. Oh, I could say a couple of other things. One is, when we normally look at the world, we're looking at it from an egocentric perspective, right? Can I eat that, or will that eat me? Well, we get a little more sophisticated than that. But usually it's, is this something I want to get? Is this something I need to push away? Is this something I can ignore? All right. You can't get into the jhanas with your ego running loose. Right? You have to actually get your ego to get quiet, go sit in the corner. And now you're looking at the world from a less egocentric perspective. And although it appears the world revolves around me, this is not the case. It actually, doesn't revolve around any of us. And so now you're looking at the world from this less egocentric perspective and have a much better chance of seeing what's going on. In the Tibetan tradition, the bodhisattva of wisdom is Manjushri, who uses a sword to cut through the bonds of ignorance. Jhana practice is just sharpening Manjushri's sword. And of course, you don't want to just sharpen, because if you just sharpen and never wield the sword to cut the bonds of ignorance, eventually you got no sword left, right? So the idea is you sharpen your mind with the jhanas, and then in the same sitting, you turn to doing the insight practice. And the sharpness, the concentration will fade slowly into the background, depending on what practice you're doing. If you're doing, say, the 5 daily recollections, it's going to fade a lot faster than if you're doing an open awareness practice with no words or anything associated with it. But it doesn't matter. You can, the next sitting, sharpen it back up and do some more insight practice. So the general rule is half of the time getting concentrated and half of the time doing insight practice in each sitting. Now, that's a general rule. Sometimes you might spend more time on concentration or more time on insight practice because you got concentrated really quickly because you're on a long retreat. Okay.